This is actually insane. The voice actor community is actually dying. They're firing people, they're getting replaced by AI, and it's happening.
Over here on the subreddit for Honkai Star Rail, that being a Hoyoverse game for those that don't know, we've got the title, Kalis and Stell have been officially recasted.
These are, by the way, the main characters of Honkai Star Rail. Honkai Star Rail is one of, and in some months, is the biggest gacha game in the entire world. It is a massive fucking game. It's huge.
Version 3.3. Now, as you guys know, I do play Genshin, but I don't actually play Honkai, so I'd like to get some additional context here at GoToGamers.net. We'll just spend like 30 seconds reading the key areas here at the top, where they say, Honkai Star Rail version 3.3, The Fall of Dawn's Rise, dropped on Wednesday, May 21st, with 2 new 5-star characters in Hyacine and Cypher, Hyacine and Cypher, as well as tons of other additions. However, the update also featured a surprising change as the voice actors for the game's main character, the Trailblazer, have been replaced. In Honkai Star Rail, players embark on an interstellar journey as the male or female version of the Trailblazer, commonly known by their canon names Salis and Stell. Kalis, excuse me.
Yep.
Since the game's launch in April 2023, the Trailblazer has been voiced by Caleb Yen, Kalis, and Rachel Chow, Stell. So this is basically like the
These are the main people.
Traveler Genshin. Let's take a look and see if the voice actors who got recast have issued any statement on this yet. Hopping over to Twitter first for Rachel Chow. We can see the bio does still say ENVA for Stell. And scrolling down, there is nothing as of May 5th. That's the latest post. But her pinned tweet does say, making the jump. Follow me on Blue Sky at the same handle. Chow for now. I'll keep...
Is Blue Sky a suicide cult for your career? Because I'm starting to feel like it is. Yeah, this is unbelievable. How does this keep happening?
Yield Twitter up so you can find me and to protect this glorious handle. All right, hopping over to Blue Sky. We can see Rachel Chow is also here, but interestingly enough, on Blue Sky, her username is a little bit different, including she, they in the in the username. Interesting because on Twitter she put she, they in the bio, but over here it's in the title. I don't know. Is that a Blue Sky thing or something?
Cares?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the bio does still say ENVA of Stell and Honkai Star Rail, and similarly to Twitter on this part, no activity lately, and no statement issued about the recasting. As for Caleb Yen, he does also still say Trailblazer in his bio. But I don't believe he's on Blue Sky, so all we'll take a look at is this Twitter account, and there's even less activity here. Pin tweet from 2021.
I'm glad voice actors are getting replaced. I mean, I feel bad for a lot of them that are getting replaced, but the problem is that, I mean, it's the same with any type of technology. It's selfish for you to think that the entire world has to live with a higher cost of something because you want to keep your job on life support. Nobody is entitled to having their job kept on life support through the effective welfare of the society.
And the last post actually from back on December 5th, 2024. Let's actually return to the Blue Sky account for Rachel Chow, though. I found something that gives some more context. So 2 months ago, we got this Blue Sky post from Shar that says, to Rachel, so glad you could find happiness and have a great day. I miss you a whole lot in Honkai Star Rail, and I send weekly feedback requesting them to sign the interim agreement for AI protections so you and the other wonderful actors can get back to voicing our beloved characters.
Check her Expedition 33 post. Let me see what she said about it. I'm actually kind of curious. This is at 250. Give me a minute. Okay, now it's fine.
This channel for a few months now.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Obviously, the interim agreement is about a lot more than just AI protections. That's like the whole Trojan horse thing, the whole like manipulative part that a lot of people have been criticizing the VAs, SAG, the agreement for, to put it simply, of course. But I suppose I'll add on to this really quickly for anyone who may be out of the loop on this still. And essentially, one of the biggest issues is that...
Do you think this will trickle down to big games? Well, I mean, Honkai Star Rail is a big game. I think more and more you're going to see video games turning towards AI instead of using these actors, because a lot of these actors are in these unions, and they're asking for too much money, basically. And the problem is, like, this company doesn't want to pay them that much money. So they're trying to collectively bargain. And also, here's another big issue, is that a lot of these people create PR issues for the company when they, for example, go and give like their political hot take on something, and then the game gets collateral damage because of it. So if you're making a video game, do you want to keep these people involved? Probably not.
And these VAs and SAG are trying to flip these games, Hoyoverse games and other games, to be union-only games, which would come with a lot of negative repercussions for VAs who are not a part of the union, such as forcing voice actors who don't want to join the union into joining the union and having to pay those members' dues.
Well, this is the problem with unions, and this is the issue, is that like I'm more pro-union than not, but unions are not infallible, and oftentimes whenever a union becomes big enough and large enough, it starts mirroring the same problems that it fights against. And I think this is an example of that.
Risk being terminated from their positions, from their roles. Nevertheless, Rachel Chow responds and says, "Aw, thank you so much. That is really so kind and helpful of you. Hoping for good news soon, too." I guess that didn't age so well, did it? Here's something really funny. So back on the subreddit Honkai Star Rail and the post that we read earlier about this recasting news, you can see a top comment here says, "So it's like Kenichi and Genshin, only new lines for now. Older will be replaced in the future. So it'll be a mix of both VAs for now. There's also lots of NPC VA changes, not even for EN, but looks like for JP also." The response saying, "We live in hope that this means we could still get a recast for Paimon."
They all want to recast her because everybody hates her. And I think that's the exact reason why these companies are trying to go for the recasting. It's because they don't want to deal with some random weird SJW, like super fucking liberal, like crazy person that's going on Blue Sky and saying stuff that alienates their players. Who the fuck wants to deal with that?
I will play the heck out of Genshin if they recast Paimon. Give her free runs English VA and I'm sold. So you can see that the people's dreams for a Paimon recast is still holding strong, still very much alive.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe more alive than ever now. An interesting point at the top about the Kenichi situation and these VAs getting replaced. I do wonder if when we see the announcement of who the new VAs are for the Trailblazers and Honkai, if we'll see, just like we saw happen to Jacob Takanashi, the new VA for Kenichi, that a certain clique of very toxic English voice actors and SAG-AFTRA bootlickers and their supporters will try and harass the new VAs too, just like they did to Jacob Takanashi.
They absolutely will harass them because they think they have the moral authority to do so. They think that because they are fighting for the right cause, that it's okay for them to just attack people that are not on their side. That's basically how it works.
Of course, they all know very well how much backlash they got for that situation, though, so perhaps this time they won't actually do it, even if they really want to. Maybe now they'll be scared of all the backlash that they will get from the communities and the internet at large. It's really crazy how big of bullies these people are. We literally saw some VAs on Blue Sky saying that people like Jacob Takanashi deserve to be harassed even more, and saying stuff like,
of course they want to harass them because that's the way that they maintain control. They want to harass and bully and attack anybody who doesn't join their union so they can collectively bargain for more money and effectively just get more out of the company. So anybody who doesn't want to play ball with them and doesn't like what their parameters are, they attack that person in order to keep that person out of there. They're cry bullies. Yeah, that's what they do. It's because, like, and to be fair, like in their mind, like if that's their goal, that is the most effective way to achieve that goal. Is you have to bully and attack anybody who disagrees with you, so you create a monopoly so you can control the market. That's what they're trying to do.
Oh, back in the good old days of unions, people used to get physically assaulted for being scabs and trying to make it sound like, oh, Jacob Takanashi got off easy. And all the fans mad at us really shouldn't be mad at all. By the way, let me also clarify something. This comment we read a moment ago that I said is a top comment is in fact the top comment in the thread.
What a surprise.
Both sorted by top and also sorted by best. Come on, Reddit. What are you doing? There
because you also have, like, you have to keep in mind that, like, a lot of these companies are done overseas. So a lot of, like, the American social issues that, like, you know, kind of intersect with all of these problems are totally non-existent at all. They're totally non-existent. They don't care about these issues. They don't give a shit about it at all in any capacity.
speaking of people upset on Blue Sky about this news and getting mad at the fans of these games, there is some stuff we'll take a look at in a moment where, yeah, there's more people mad over on Blue Sky. But first,
I bet they are.
Let's hop over to the Genshin Impact subreddit. We took a look at Honkai Star Rail. Now we'll read some over on our Genshin. This post reading, the VAs for Honkai Star Rail main characters have been replaced, which we share the VA of Gaming with. So I guess he'll be replaced soon. Hey, quick side note about that. Do you guys remember when Gaming was released and people in the community were making memes about like gaming, like, wow, they really released a character in a game whose name is Gaming? And then you had a bunch of Twitter cops,
I remember that,
who are probably now in Blue Sky, saying that it's very offensive to make fun of his name. Like, you guys shouldn't be doing that. it's like racist. It's a Chinese name.
Well, and this is what these people always do. This is why nobody likes them, and it's why they don't get support. It's because they're constant tone policers and Karens. And so whenever you see an organization of people that have collective bargaining power to be Karens together take an L, that's the big reason why they're getting a lot of like anti-support, basically.
Some of the most brain rot stuff ever. To take it even further back, it was like when people were mad about the John Lee memes. Oh, you can't call John Lee. That is so problematic, guys. Oh my gosh.
Little F.
Now, look, really quick, as much like fun as I'll make at Blue Sky, which is completely justified, by the way, completely justified.
Yeah.
I will say, as mentioned, that I have seen some like actually like cool artists on Blue Sky. So I always feel bad for the people that are on Blue Sky that just went there to like share art and stuff and are like not weird. But my gosh, man, that whole website has some serious brain rot issues. It like,
sure does.
Like Twitter is still bad, but I'll say that it got a little bit better, maybe even more than a little bit better, because a lot of those sort of Twitter cop people did go over to Blue Sky. That's a fact.
No, I don't think that would have mattered, because the reason why the Twitter cop people went over to Blue Sky is because every time they try to be Twitter cops now, people make fun of them and just are mean to them. And that's what they deserve, by the way, is to just be made fun of and disregarded and just laughed at. That's the problem. So they left Twitter because they can't compete in the free marketplace of ideas, and so they have to go to Blue Sky instead, because that way they'll be protected from anyone who disagrees with them. That's what happens.
Like, while the levels have balanced out a bit more on Twitter,
yeah, community notes was devastating for the Blue Sky community.
It's like Blue Sky is completely out of balance. There's just so much brain rot there. It's crazy. But going back to this Genshin post about the VAs recasting stuff, most of the responses at the top are responding to the question about like Gaming potentially getting replaced. But here's one that talks about VA stuff in general, saying, what are the odds for Zack and Sarah, Aether and Lumine's VAs, these being the travelers, the main characters in Genshin, to also be replaced? I would also understand if they do that, but not gonna lie, I like them so much. I'd be sad if/when that happens. Now, I don't know anything about Sarah, but I will say about Zack. I actually met him years ago, completely through chance at Anime Expo. Was walking around the exhibit hall, and he came up to me. We start talking. He mentions he's a voice actor for Genos on One Punch Man. Because at the time, I think
sure Twitter is a free marketplace of ideas. It is. You can put any idea out there, and you don't get banned for it, unless it's like an advocacy for violence. And even then, you usually don't get banned for it. So I actually think that Twitter is 100% a free marketplace of ideas. I don't know why you would say it's not.
It's only like notable roles. So it was way before Genshin.
Yeah, that's why they hate it. That's why they're mad.
All that.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, he seemed like a pretty cool, hardworking, chill dude. And I'm assuming all these years later, he still is. I haven't really kept up with him, but I can only say good things from my experience with him years ago. So I'm assuming, as mentioned, he's still like that. Point being, he seems like one of the good VAs out there, and I do hope this all works out for him. Taking a little more of a look through this thread before we move on to the Blue Sky anger. This next comment reading, I just hope they won't recast Zack. Him, Zhongli, and Ito VAs are the only ones I hope don't get recast. And
if you're part of one of these unions, you're probably going to get recast sooner or later. Eventually, the company will get to a point where it will be worth it to just recast everybody from the union. And as soon as one company breaks the ice with not working with people from this union, it then makes other companies feel comfortable doing the exact same thing. And then after that, the union ceases to have any power. That's it. It's like if you overstep, basically, and then too many people like can't work with you, that it's happening, especially Hoyoverse. Yeah, Hoyoverse is like one of the biggest companies too.
On reading, apparently we have reached the found out portion of FAFO. It's
Wuthering Waves doesn't work with American voice actors because of this. Is that true? Wait, is that actually true? Is not significantly impacted by American Voice Actors Guild because it utilizes primarily British voice actors. Well, there you go. They're all English? Yep.
Too, I do enjoy the current swatch of ENVAs. I really do. But at this point, the game has been...
The thing is, though, it's like, it's so funny because, like, I think about the voice acting for some of these other games, and then I feel like all of these, like, really well-known voice actors in this community just get totally bodied by some random guy who's, like, a theater actor somewhere in Europe playing Egon in Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. Like, this guy just totally fucking just came out of nowhere. Who is this fucking guy? And he just, it's not even remotely close.
Revealed. The jig is up. Everyone knows the truth about the strike and its real goal. And I'm frankly...
Yeah, I hope Ben Starr, one day, he's becoming the Sean Bean of voice actors and like video game like actors, is that like inside of every single game, it's like the end of it, it's not very good for him.
Tired of having my game enjoyment held hostage by people who should have, quite frankly, known better. And another comment wanting Paimon to get recast, reading, I hope they can now also recast the white flying turd we have flying right next to us. That takes us over to this exchange back on Twitter, where a Genshin YouTuber said, I really wish there was a better outcome for the English VA situation, but as soon as Hoyo started replacing people, it was evident that they were fighting a losing battle.
Yes.
Response reading, what's crazy about it is that Genshin and other Hoyoverse games aren't even affected by the strike in the first place.
No.
The English VAs chose not to record because they wanted higher payments or something like that, with someone else saying it's much more complicated than that. And then a different user responding saying, no, it's not.
I don't know about
SAG
that.
actors do what SAG does and strike because of AI, quote unquote.
Yeah.
When in reality, they want absolute control over Mihoyo projects. They hide behind a facade of AI protections. Hoyo already respects AI protections and rally everyone.
They only respect AI protections because they have to right now. The moment that they don't have to, they won't. If you actually think any of these companies are going to willfully lose money in order to not have AI, you are delusional.
Non-union VAs. When their lies were uncovered, the higher-ups at SAG conveniently started enforcing their global Rule 1. Union actors cannot work on union projects. You mean on non-union projects, I think.
Yeah.
But continuing. Holding the VAs that do want to go back to work hostage, it's not that complicated. The SAG VAs just tell you it's complicated to have you feel pity for SAG, when in fact, they are the problem. Another response to the initial tweet reading, who was fighting a losing battle? This is SAG's attempt to strong-arm a foreign company into complying with the scummiest contract I've ever seen.
That's exactly
Hoyoverse has been incredibly patient with the strike. If anyone is fighting a losing battle, it's SAG. Hoyo isn't going to budge. That seemed
They don't need to, because time is on their side, and so is the audience. The audience cares more about the characters than they do about the voice actors, obviously. Because the character, like, it would be more if, like, for example, like, in a lot of, like, AAA games, you have, like, you know, for example, like, people are saying Ben Starr, right? Like, Clive looks kind of like Ben Starr. Verso looks kind of like Ben Starr. And so there's more of a connection to the actor. But, like, in a lot of these gacha games, it's so disconnected that people don't make that connection at all.
Upset someone else as they say, let's defend the billion-dollar company together, guys.
Yeah,
let's
Christopher
go.
Judge with Kratos.
To
Yeah,
which
exactly.
that other user responds, saying if you actually read into it, in this situation, Hoyoverse
people know him
is in the right. This is something that we've discussed a number of times in the past too, how SAG-AFTRA and a number of the union VAs have come off so unlikable that people are actually defending the corporation in this example.
That's crazy.
Something that is very rare, but that SAG-AFTRA and those VAs managed to accomplish through how unlikable they are. Congratulations. We'll take a look at a few more examples here. This one saying, it was revealed by Rio's VA that it was just the VA's own volition to strike in hopes of getting Hoyo to sign that for better treatment. The better treatment being the agreement that's really, you know, bad agreement for Hoyoverse and bad for non-union VAs. It was a group effort done by them, the union VAs, rather than being orchestrated by SAG-AFTRA, since Hoyo games weren't supposed to be...
I'd argue some people do care about voice actors. I think that people do care about it, but the problem is that when you have voice actors... And this is an issue with all entertainment media, is that most people don't really respect entertainment media in a big way because they view it as a luxury profession. So when people complain about it, they don't get as much sympathy as when like a firefighter is complaining or like a nurse is complaining.
involved.
That's just how
Joe
that's just how it
referring
is.
to this action as a
the get a real job
refusal.
type stuff. Yeah, exactly.
The current video game strike, the official one by SAG-AFTRA, is against a number of major Western gaming companies. According to my recollection, companies such as Electronic Arts, Warner Brothers, etc., etc. Now, it does seem like SAG-AFTRA is involved on some level, aside from just having their members involved, with the collective work refusal against Hoyoverse games, as we have seen them trying to act as a mediator, a middleman of sorts, with getting the work refusals demands sent over to Hoyoverse and asking Hoyoverse to sign said demands.
Are streamers bitches about something? Yeah, streamers are a great example. Like, whenever some streamer gives, like, a political opinion, like, even, like, me or Hassan, people always are like, shut the fuck up, you're a streamer, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's the same with, like, remember when Pokimane was talking about, like, eat the rich and everybody got mad at her? Like, people just don't want to hear that from people in entertainment. They don't want to hear that, and it's very annoying and off-putting.
Some people speculate that they have
that's just
more
the way it
involvement,
is.
some less.
That's
but
just the way it
factually,
is.
from what we have seen,
That's
they
life.
are at the very least trying to get this whole like contract forwarded and signed by Hoya. Ultimately, whatever the case may or may not be, it is still important to remember that SAG is a union built by its members. So by default, by talking about SAG-AFTRA, you are still also talking about its members. Some people try to draw like a very clear distinction between the union and the VAs, but the union is made up of the VAs. Now, if we go into further detail, of course, there's like a hierarchy, so to speak, with some members not having much involvement. Maybe they just vote here and there. Others are bringing in significant amount of money and get things like healthcare benefits, but around 85% of members, according to my recollection, don't qualify for the minimum income to get benefits.
What a surprise.
So there's like varying degrees here, of course.
I mean, it's a huge union. It's
and
not
then
a
there's
surprise at
people
all.
who are voted in to have like these executive positions at the union and whatnot.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, it is ultimately made up of the members, and some of those are actors, some voice actors. You get the point. What's interesting is when you see lots of people trying to put all the blame on SAG-AFTRA itself and act like the VAs are all innocent when, as we just discussed...
This is it. This guy is fucking based. Not higher payment. They want to create a monopoly disguised as AI protection. Yeah. They want to make sure that they are the gatekeepers for anybody trying to get a job inside of this space and work on games that they're involved in. Because that's what's best for them.
Union is built
Obviously,
up of
that's
its
what they're
members.
going to do.
And furthermore, as you can see here and elsewhere on the internet, such as Reddit, etc., some people try and cite Erica, the VA for Venti, as proof that SAG is forcing VAs to do certain things and that they don't have free will of their own. For example, this comment that reads, VAs that are part of the union...
I know a lot of people know this, but like SAG stands for Screen Actors Guild. It's a really, really big union here in the U.S., and it's what a lot of people in entertainment are a part of in order to get better deals.
And could get blacklisted by SAG.
Yeah, in case anybody doesn't know that.
Work. Venti's VA confirmed they are being sent threatening emails by the union. There's a lot more to it, but yeah, VAs are not the main people to blame. Well, in some cases, they are. In some cases, VAs have outspokenly bootlicked for the union and harassed people like Jacob Takanashi. In such cases, absolutely the VAs are also to blame because they're enabling the predatory behavior going on at SAG-AFTRA and harassing people who would stand up to SAG-AFTRA. And this is something that has also happened to Venti's VA. So I find it kind of messed up, actually, that this person is mentioning Erica here, the VA for Venti, but only mentioning the threatening letters part because it helps their argument.
Yeah.
As they try to paint all the VAs out as, like, innocent, when Venti's VA, Erica, actually got harassed by other VAs on Blue Sky when she began to expose SAG. And those VAs were even saying things like, Erica deserves to get those letters, and they were trying to downplay them, being like, oh, the letters aren't threatening. This is just what happens. Erica deserves this. So give Erica...
Keep this in mind every time that they act like victims. This is what I've said before, is that a lot of these people love to throw shit, but the moment that they get any shit, now they're crying. This is the reason why I don't have any sympathy for anybody who's being critical and hostile online. Is that like, and then, because like they'll always cry and they'll be like, oh, I'm being harassed. Damn, that's crazy. Wow. Wow, really? Okay.
the credit that she deserves for going up against the corrupt VAs and their corrupt union and stop enabling the predatory behavior. All right, now let's get some blue sky anger. We've got this post that says, I've been hearing murmurings that the English voices for Stell and Kalis and Honkai Star Rail.
It's a furry. Of course it's a fucking furry. What a surprise. Yep.
Have been recast. Regardless of whether that's true,
who could have guessed?
I just need to reiterate my disappointment in the fandom response. That so many people are so ghoulish as to not care about the livelihoods of the VAs that literally give voice to the main characters of their favorite game, because how dare they have to play a game for a few months missing some voice acting? I mean, that's part of it, but you're also ignoring how people just didn't like being manipulated.
It's not like, just stop doing this thing where you keep trying to guilt trip the customer. Stop trying to make the customer write checks on your behalf. It's just so annoying. When streamers do it, a voice actor does it, an actor does it, and a game developer does it. Stop blaming the customer. If you are delivering a product and the product that the person is receiving is not what they want it to be, they have every right to be frustrated. That's the way it is. This isn't some kind of fucking relationship. It's a transaction. Stop trying to emotionally manipulate people just because you think that they're supposed to care about you. You're selling a product. You are the product.
VAs that were lying to them about their demands and what they were trying to do to Hoyo and non-union VAs. It's funny how this is so often left out by people who are trying to always defend the strike and SAG. They are mindless, petulant black holes of content consumption, and I can't stay. It won't make a difference, but I won't be giving Hoyo any more of my time. It's time to drop Honkai Star Rail and all of MiHoYo's other games. You can see they open.
I really want to go back to this person's account in a year, and I want to see if that's true. Because I don't think it's fucking true.
With their rage post here, with a really gross analogy, and then go on to say, quote, the
just
voice
a little
actor
bit of a
union is
feeling,
actually
you know?
bad, unquote, if you don't get bent. So are they just defending SAG there? Is that what they're trying to like get at, I guess?
Yeah.
Quote, they aren't grateful, unquote. Dude, it's a job, you know, the thing neither of us have. And then they get really mad at this post in particular. Looks like it's from Reddit, where this person says, Hoyo has shown more patience than nearly other companies who would fire anyone not working, especially when there is no official union strike against any Hoyo games. It's unfortunate that it's come to this, but I'm not surprised by the decision.
They're all getting replaced by AI. This is going to be bad. I think that you're going to have, like, you're going to have 80% of voice acting in games in probably 5 to 10 years that are done with AI.
After all being unvoiced for so long. Response reading, especially since Honkai Star Rail is a game with 8 hours story patch every patch.
They don't have the cards.
It genuinely hurts their whole game because it ruins some people's immersion on the story. They simply can't wait any longer since we're closing on the ending of the first half of Amorphous. Actually, that's Amphorious, I think. My bad. They closed their rant by saying, I don't write about games much anymore except for my own blogs. So
because you got negative feedback because people don't like what you're saying. That's the reason why. That's what happens. Yeah.
I feel okay making fun of these people. Well, I mean, all we really got out of this is that you're defending a corrupt union, so congratulations, I guess. But look at this. Elsewhere on Blue Sky, there were some people actually defending Hoyoverse. For example, this person says, at this point, voice actors getting recast like that in Hoyo games don't feel so surprising. It just feels so hurtful that they can just throw people away like that. All they want is protection. Is it that hard? Sigh. Well, once again, we know they want a lot more than that. But this response says, what could have happened when you refused to work for no valid and official reason?
Yeah, if you stop doing your job, the thing is that collective bargaining goes both ways. If you say, I'm not going to do my job unless you give me more money, the company also has the right to say, okay, we're not going to give you more money. It's not like you just invoke this every time you want more money and they just have to give you more money.
In this exchange,
that's
we can
not
see
how
someone
it works.
Says, as much as I didn't want it to happen, they withheld work. It was bound to happen.
Jesus.
It's been ridiculous to not have the main character voiced since 2.6, 4 patches. I'm not celebrating them losing the roles, but I am happy to finally have the character voiced again. No hate their way or the new VAs.
Yeah, of course.
Ignoring the fact that most video games went on voice/minimal VAing back in the day just so you can rip on people's livelihoods is real rich. Bro, this person was so respectful about it, and this guy is still getting like enraged, like seething over it.
Oh god.
Oh my gosh, it gets worse. Look at this. I hope you lose your job to AI one day, and I hope AI prevents you from finding another one. Holy smokes, dude.
Do you think this is a byproduct of the protest culture that's come about in the last 10 years? Yeah, I think that we have a big protest culture because people are bored. They're bored and they have no meaning, so they have to find different social causes to attach themselves to so they can feel better about the fact that they live in absolute privilege in the greatest time in history, and they share some form of guilt for it. That's the reason why.
Are crazy. They're always so like mad and weird sounding, man.
Yep.
What are you on about? I know you aren't talking about the strike against MiHoYo, and back in the day, my guy, the strike hasn't even passed a year. I know critical thinking is hard for kids these days, but we can't hold your hand through it anymore. Not that I expect much from a selfish redacted. Bro, are you stupid? You didn't even make a—
Take your meds. Yeah, bro, get help.
A point to begin with.
This is crazy.
Go ahead and reread what I wrote and come up with something that actually is relevant to what I said.
They just get so mad over nothing.
Instead of digging up insults, you dunce. One last thing we'll take a look at here. Do you remember months back near the beginning of this whole situation when a number of VAs went to Reddit to try and defend SAG-AFTRA and the strike by continuing to spread a false narrative, to which people on Reddit called them out, some simply asking questions, and these VAs responded by either dodging and not answering and or blocking people, or giving like manipulative lies as a response, to which they got mass downvoted. Well, we'll take a look at this comment from 2 months ago really quick, and you'll see why in a second. It reads, "They can't see it on Blue Sky. I asked a few of them to clarify, and they called me names, said I was anti-worker and pro-billion-dollar company, and blocked me. Kit Harrison, Shara Kirby both did, since I was replying to a thread where they were both in. Blue Sky is great as a safe space for the vileness of Twitter, but I think a lot of people treat it more like a blog than social media." The reason we're taking a look at this again is because
the reason Blue Sky is simply a safe space for people that can't handle Twitter. And it's also dying. Blue Sky, however popular you thought Blue Sky was, it's becoming less popular every week and every month. Because the only reason why it exists is to basically be some kind of oppositional force against Trump. And eventually people lose interest in that. And this is also another big component, is that as a voice actor, for example, Andy Serkis or Ben Starr, both people that were in Expedition 33, one of the reasons why these guys get cast is because people know who they are. And it's like, oh, it's this guy, right? So a lot of people are doing themselves a big disservice by moving over to Blue Sky because they're handicapping their growth as a content creator. And if your growth is built around popularity and you leave the place that's giving you popularity, well, you're going to have a pretty bad fucking time.
Thinking of a number of the VAs who were on Reddit trying to defend the strike and all that stuff. And I did recall Kit Harrison. So I went over to Blue Sky to Kit Harrison's account to see if he had anything to say about the recent recasts. And there actually wasn't anything that I saw. Doesn't seem like he's talking about it. But there is one thing that I thought was rather interesting and gives some insight onto the VA work. That being this post where he talks about money. The context is, he says, 2 days ago, was driving home yesterday and a pheasant flew headlong into my wing mirror from the side. Heck of a shot.
Man.
You shouldn't dwell on these things, but if I was driving at any different speed, it would have been way, way worse. Watch out for low-flying birds, kids. First of all...
Why was he riding in a windmill?
Bro, sucks what happened to your car. But that takes us to the quote that he made of that post where he adds on to it saying, "Arg, 75 euros for a new wing mirror and 450 euros for a new door window. Anyone needs circa 1 hour of high quality voice acting." So you're telling me these guys actually get paid? Like this guy trying to get paid what is like close to $600 USD for an hour of voice acting? And no offense to this guy, but he's not exactly a household name. Doesn't exactly
$600 an hour. Yeah, guys. Yeah. Man, yeah. I think I can see why they're using AI.
We have like a big credit list here, and still wants like 600 USD around for an hour, around an hour of VA work. Is that really what these people are trying to charge?
Yeah.
That's just crazy in my opinion. So yeah, please let me know what you guys think about that. Am I reading that wrong, or is he really trying to charge like 600, just about 600 USD for an hour of VA work?
I don't think voice actors are really rich, and it's not really like they have some kind of like crazy, super, you know, fucking like high overpaid job. But the problem is that nowadays, especially when you have the same thing with streamers, right? Streamers talking about like losing ad revenue. Wow, there's a streamer that showed their ad revenue, and last month they made $18,000, and this month they're only going to make $12,000. Oh my God, can somebody please, you know, can we start a GoFundMe so they don't go homeless? They're going to have to go be a mailman now. It's just like, really. And the problem is that I think that people don't realize that, especially on the internet, you're communicating to an audience of people that is global. So even if you think $12,000 isn't a lot of money every month, which, I mean, in some places, like a couple of places at least, it's really not a lot of money every month, like San Francisco, for example. You know, if you're looking at it from the perspective of a Chinese person, maybe, or, you know, maybe somebody who lives in a European country that has a much lower standard of living, then you're going to have a totally different viewpoint on this. Yeah, you're talking to people. Yeah, basically, you're talking to people that are making $15 an hour, complaining about making $600 an hour. That's not going to go very well. It's not.
And it takes me back, too, really quick to something I covered months ago, where there was the what was that? What was that creepypasta thing? Ben Drowned, I think. Yeah, the creator Ben Drowned put out a like ad for like needing some background voices, and a bunch of people on Twitter were mad with what he was trying to pay, asking for like hundreds of dollars just to say a few lines. And that sounds so crazy then. But apparently, yeah, these people really do think they should get like paid hundreds for a few lines, or like 600 for an hour.
Yeah, if these people think that they're going to get paid hundreds of dollars for this in the long term, I think that they're delusional. Like, AI is going to totally replace this shit, and it's not even going to be close.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it's a great look, but maybe I'm reading it wrong. I don't think I am, but if I am, let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think about all this stuff, including that little bonus at the end. Little insight into the VA stuff here.
Yep.
Hope you enjoyed the coverage. If you did, please consider liking.
I figured I'd watch this video because I have covered this drama for a while.
Wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you in the comments as well as in the next one.
I didn't know they're adding Ultron. I just recently saw that. So I do think it's really funny to see this happen. And I think it's going to happen with more different companies. And I think also one of the reasons why there's a lingering animosity of the voice actors, the reason why is because the voice actors and a lot of people that worked in tech, they were the ones that were the biggest farmers and the biggest pushers of learn to code, or, you know, some other form of dismissive language when blue collar workers lost their jobs to automation. And so now these same people are the victims of automation themselves, and there's nobody left to complain or cry about them because nobody cares. So that's it. And at least it could be a common guy with an AI voice changer. Yeah, definitely. And have you heard about the Smash community drama? Apparently they killed someone, and the person who exposed them got the video false flag, got re-uploaded. No, I don't know about that. Sounds pretty heavy. I'll probably wait till tomorrow till I cover that because of just how extreme it sounds. So, yeah, that's at least the way I see about it. And, Spammer saying V. I don't know what you meant by that. But, yeah. Actually to learn the code, and now AI has turned me into a monster. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, like, a lot of people, the thing is that a lot of people that are smart are going to be able to use AI as a multiplier for their efforts. But the issue is that for voice actors and certain people, they're going to get replaced by AI, because the fact is that AI will replace the bottom 80% of performers. And just by the numbers, most people are in the bottom 80%. That's what the 80% means. And so most people are going to end up getting replaced, coders. And this has happened. Like, how many of you guys have had an element of your job that has been replaced by AI in one way or another? How many of you guys have had that happen? I have. Yes, of course, right? And so, like, you have, and so I got laid off, yeah, right? And so, like, there's a component of it where it's being used in AI, and I think this is what's going to happen in a lot of cases, and it's going to happen more and more and more. And you can't you can't stop this from happening. You can't make this go away. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse. And I think the problem that a lot of people have with these voice actors is that you have this double speak where it's okay that some people lose their jobs to AI or automation or some form of technology, but it's not okay that they lose their job. And I think that's the big issue that a lot of people have, and that's the reason why they're frustrated more than anything else, right?